And appreciate your attendance. As we get started for this candidate forum for Ojai Mayor, the first thing I would like to do is introduce our co-president, Kathy Morgan, who would like to give just a brief welcome. Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you, Cheryl. We're going to get cozy here. So thank you for coming out tonight to hear from our candidates, and I want to thank the candidates for running for political office. That's a heavy lift, and our democracy depends on people running for office, so thank you so much. Just a little bit of brief information about the League of Women Voters. We were founded in 1920. We were founded just 6 months prior to the passage of the 19th Amendment, which gave women the right to vote nationwide. The reason for the founding of the 19th Amendment was it was for the League of Women Voters, was that it was realized that there was an entirely new group of voters, women, who needed to learn about the process of voting, how to get the information needed to make their informed decision, and so on. The mission of the League is empowering voters and defending democracy, and we do that today by registering voters, getting out information about the candidates and about the ballot measures, striving for free and fair elections. We are hoping that you will get the information you need tonight after hearing from the candidates, asking your questions and hearing their opinions and their views on certain matters, that you will have the information you need to make an informed choice when you vote. So thank you so much for being here, and I'm going to turn it back over to Cheryl.
So the rules of engagement for tonight will be that the candidates will each receive 1.5 minutes for each response. The cards that have your questions, as Kathy indicated, if you have a card, raise your hand. We have a lot of our League members who will collect those cards and bring them to the front table. We will get to as many of the questions as we can. We may group some of the questions to try to get to as many as we can to answer the questions and pose them to the candidates, who will have 1.5 minute response. We are going to start. We had a very brief moment, so we have the two candidates, Michelle Pineiro and Andy Gilman, and Michelle drew the number to start first. So the first thing we will be doing is opening comments, 1.5 minutes from each one, and we will be a little bit informal. This is a friendly group. I will be calling them by their first names. So Michelle, with that, would you please give us your opening comments?
Hi. Good evening. I'm Michelle Pineiro, and I am running for mayor because I want to protect what makes Ojai special, while also tackling some of the real challenges we all face on a day-to-day basis. I come from a long line of public servants. In my immediate family, my father was a police officer for 20 years, and my mother had the hardest job of all. She raised 3 children full-time for 15 years before she went on to have a successful career in interior design. I share this with you all because I want you to know that I grew up in an environment where service, hard work, and nurturing all lived alongside one another, and those are values that I carry into everything I do. Every day, I wake up grateful to live in this community where my husband and I are raising our young daughter. And the reality is that this place is shaping who she is, and so my commitment to Ojai is deeply personal for this reason. I am here this evening to share with you a practical and pragmatic vision for what can be accomplished over the next 2 years. My priorities include drawing down our emissions to 0 by 2030, doing everything in my power to keep traffic from getting worse, increasing the chances of regular working and retired people to stay in their homes, wildfire preparedness, and creating an environment in City Council where everyone feels safe and heard. I'm looking forward to sharing more of my experience and positions on the issues this evening. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Andy?
Hello, everybody. Is it on?
Now it's on. Hello. It's kind of amazing that we're here now. It's been a long journey. Many of you know this already, but and I won't repeat myself too much, but you know, I grew up here and I've spent a long time living and working in Ojai's nonprofits and really enjoying my family and the love of being here, and it is an extraordinary place to be, and I'll be here the rest of my life. I became very concerned recently with our current council, and especially the loss of our interim city manager the day that he abruptly quit. Many of us were in Libby Park having a community meeting when we heard this news, and that was the day that I decided I needed to do something. And so
the interest for me is
manyfold, but briefly, it's that I'd like to build very specific procedures around how our council can improve and be more effective. Everything's listed very explicitly on the website, and that's something else I wanted to do is change the whole trend of political office seeking and just be honest and clear about everything. And if that's not what you want, great, but to be honest and clear. And then secondly, there's a trend here, which is our OUSD enrollment is half of what it was in 2000, and our median age is 10 years over the last 2 censuses. If we do nothing, those will continue. So we'll talk more about those specifics, but thank you so much for being here. I'm very excited about it.
Thank you. Our first question is going to Andy, and the topic is climate change. We have quite a few questions. I would like to hear your comments that what would you do as mayor to reduce emissions in Ojai? What actions do you advocate? And do you feel Ojai is addressing the issues?
No, thank you. On the back, by Marquita back there, I have a longer document, and it's called the Draft for Climate Change, so I won't have time to say all the ideas right now, but please do grab that. It's on the website as well. So there's not just one, and I do think that is the right approach. Not one big thing, but many things for us together. For example, here's an easy one, I think, and that is our paving project. So we are in the midst of paving in the city, most of you know that. So, and I believe some work is being done on this preliminarily, and I'm happy to hear that. But it would be a demonstration project from cities who are doing this kind of work in other places. Hawthorne is one that I've been trying to research and figure out what are recycled paving materials that they're looking at, how can they reduce the temperature of neighborhoods. That's just one. So it starts with things that we could do right now immediately. They could be things like, even in our own home, things like composting, choices about diet, all those things. It just goes on and on. There's not one, again. But they could go far into, this is a very long-term piece, and I didn't make this up, but there's 114 microgrids in California. Now that's not fast. That's something that we could just begin to initiate, where we can ensure that our energy is clean. So even if we have, if we are electrified 100%, we still have to figure out and make sure that we're getting the energy in the right place. So I do encourage you to read that. It's on the back, and it's also on my website, and I'm happy to meet with anybody and talk in detail about 15 more things.
Thank you. Michelle, the topic is climate change and your feelings about what has gone on in the city and what you would do as the mayor.
I am a long-time advocate for the environment, and I'd also like to mention that the Sierra Club has endorsed me, recognizing my years-long efforts and dedication to not only our planet, but also my local efforts and involvement. The science is really clear. Ventura County is the fastest warming county in the lower 48 states. For this reason, I'm committed to drawing down our emissions by 2030. We also have the second worst air quality in all of Ventura County, second only to Simi Valley, which is pretty incredible considering that we have no major sources of industry or any kind of truck routes that are regularly going through our valley. So the two main causes of our greenhouse gas emissions do come from gas from space and water heaters and our vehicular emissions. So given these facts, I will prioritize converting fossil fuel gas powered appliances in our city buildings and city fleet. We already have an inventory that was done pro bono, so I would like to accelerate the efforts to replace those. I would like to prioritize hiring a consultant to help us draft a climate action plan, which would be more binding and would plan for our climate for decades to come. I agree we should have a community microgrid, but we need to be prepared to accept grants through the IRA so that we can actually implement those things. And I would like to use the city newsletter to promote education and incentives for different sustainability efforts that residents can take.
Thank you. Our next topic is the topic of housing, in particular the relationship of housing and the homelessness issues. The question will start with Michelle, and please discuss and provide to the audience some of your thoughts about accepting, or should the city accept, the $12.7 million grant to use for that issue, and also about the location of the new tent city as it is here. So Michelle, start with you, please.
I hope we get more chances on this, because this is housing and homeless are like two different. First and foremost, my heart goes out to those that don't have a home. I believe that we need a solution that is both dignified and long-term. I don't profess to have all the answers, and I do have a number of concerns with the way that this has been approached. First of all, our city embarked on this effort with no plan other than to move people from city parkland into a parking lot. And the decisions of the council made to date were made absent through any kind of long-term analysis. So we don't actually know what we're getting into. It's nice that the state provided this money, but it had strings attached. And if I were elected, I would hit the brakes, kick it back to the county. We need county collaboration on this if we're going to have a long-term solution. And there's also the option to give it back. I mean, we don't know what the penalty clause is of that, so it's something to look to. The current plan places an undue burden on one specific neighborhood, and again, it's not a good situation for anyone. I also just want to make mention that I am really in favor of solutions that have proven models of success. The Santa Barbara Rescue Mission is a great example of this. They have a 2-track process, one that allows the unhoused, some people are not ready to be housed, so they get a place to stay overnight, and then the other track is a 12-month program, and that would be something that I would look to model, as that is a proven method of success.
Thank you. Andy, your response to
Yes,
the mission?
all the questions are complicated. I'd like to separate housing and the encampment here as well, and we should get back to housing though, because I do think they're related, but it takes more time to talk about it. I would say that it's true that the city has made it very difficult and lost some credibility, in my opinion, related to how it's been handled. And we saw instances where things were in the paper and then they changed and the deadline had changed. So that made all of us very concerned. And for those of you who are at the council meeting, we also know that some of the locations that were presented by the Board of Realtors were omitted from consideration, and we don't know why that is. I would like to know why that is. So my answer is that I do believe we need to do something with the people who are here right now in front of us, including somebody that I went to school with here. And so I do believe that does need to happen, and doing nothing doesn't solve that problem, of course. And I don't think anybody's proposing that. But I would say we have to look back at the location that has been chosen does not seem to have followed the due process. And then secondly, we have not seen an articulated plan of what's going to happen there in terms of the program or the concept. So I'm saying everything that I also sent to the paper. So to articulate, we need a town hall on this right away with very detailed plans.
Thank you.
Moderator, his voice keeps going in and out.
Yeah, I'm not sure why. I've tried to back off, so I'm not sure what's happening with the mic.
Right. We're aware of the difficulty with the microphone, and the technical group is working on it. Thank
How
you.
is this right now? Is that better if I'm right here and not closer?
Yeah.
I think that's
I won't move. A muscle. Okay.
Thank you. So we're going to stay with the topic of housing somewhat. We've had additional questions on that topic. As you know, it's a broad topic. One of the topics has to do with workforce housing and the possibility of using and cooperating with the Ojai Unified School District for some of that property. And this time we start the question with Andy.
No, thank you for asking. I support it 100%. I published that in the paper as well, and it is also on the bench back there. I believe that there's many reasons why it's a good thing. First of all, the entire board and the leadership team is looking at those policies, and I think it's a great thing to explore. Secondly, I think it solves many problems at once. For example, from the Economic Development Collaborative, we know from the census data that 2,500 people commute in every day for work. That means they work here but don't live here, and 2,200 people leave every day for work that live here. If we can curtail that, cut it back on both ways, in other words, there are more working opportunities here for people that they could come here, the people that could come here could live here with opportunities, and then secondly, the people who live here have more jobs that they could stay. I see the OUSD potential as really keen there. And secondly, I would go farther and say that the city should become a financial partner in this, and I think they're already investigating some initial staff housing there. And then further, the historic part that's in the front along Ojai Avenue, I would love to see the city rent that and have it be an Ojai hub, a nonprofit hub, or a performing arts consortium, of which we have support in the community already for that and plans. So to me, it's this incredible opportunity with a new board, and you'll have a new council to build something really amazing. Yep.
Thank you. Michelle, your thoughts on the housing and the opportunities with Ojai School District property?
Thank you. I'm a serious supporter of workforce housing. Have said that, the city council does not make decisions pertaining to that. Under the new California law, AB 2295, the school district can make decisions without the concurrence of Ojai City Council. And in order to be sovereign in that decision, a portion of that development has to be made affordable. And you know, the school district trying to create a revenue stream while also involving a developer and trying to make it affordable, as the young kids would say, the math is not mathing. It's just not possible. So the way that it was presented at the school board, that it will roll out in 3 phases, and the first pick would be to OUSD employees, and those affordable housing stocks will be gobbled up. The second tier is adjacent district employees, so that would expand into Ventura and Santa Paula, which, you know, the entire premise that my opponent is suggesting that it will, you know, solve our greenhouse gas emissions, it's totally thrown out there. And then the third is government employee housing, so that's anyone in Ventura. So, and then those things will be market rate. We need to have housing that is actually accessible to, you know, all district workers.
Thank you, Michelle. The next question has to do with your qualifications and interest in serving as mayor. Questions include, why do you want this job? What qualifications do you bring to the job? You've not served on other public commissions and committees, so tell us a little bit about, again, why you feel you have the qualifications and the interest to serve. We will start this with Michelle.
Thank you. I am excited to serve. Ojai is my forever home. My husband and I are raising our young daughter here. I am deeply, deeply invested in this community, and I love this community. Professionally, I've been a small business owner. I built my marketing company, Mayru Marketing, from the ground up and helped launch businesses right here in Ventura County. Over the last decade, I've worked on accomplishing goals on the municipal and national level. I was a campaign director at Code Pink, a national nonprofit, and spearheading the creation of their local peace economy campaign. I helped people gather their ideas and scale them up by connecting them to larger networks of support. I've helped communities nationally implement policy. I'm adept with working at diverse populations and working at nonprofits. I know how to be scrappy and make magic happen with small budgets. In 2014, I worked as a policy advisor for Marianne Williamson in her congressional run in the 33rd District of California. And in 2020, I founded Sustainable Ventura, which has served as an avenue for storytelling and transformational conversations with local Ventura County residents who are committed to environmental justice and planetary health. And my educational background includes a dual degree from Ohio State in journalism and political science, which I think serves as the backbone to research and creative problem solving. Thank you.
Andy.
Yeah, thank you. So I've served on many boards here in town. The Storytelling Festival is one. The Chamber of Commerce. I'm on the board of advisors for the Land Conservancy. I was the board president and founding parent of Ventura Charter School. I did serve on the Art Commission for a short time here in our valley. And it's funny, you use the word want. Why do you want to be the mayor? And I would have used the word feel compelled to, the phrase. I'm becoming more excited about it as time goes on for this reason, that I see what the nonprofits are becoming very excited about the possibility of collaboration, and that makes me very excited about what's capable. It's really the Agora Foundation that I've been the director of since 2006 here, and then working at behavioral science technology not too far away from here for 18 years, gave me a perspective into town, and especially with Agora, with our Ojai Chautauqua panels, which I know some of you have been to, where we tried to bring together different ideas and voices, especially on complicated issues, things like We did a tourism panel in 2017. We've done 4 school panels, including declining enrollment. So those are the kind of things where we've tried to get as much database conversation as we can get and get people with different views in the room seeing each other's sides. And that's what I think our council and our city desperately need, and I hope to bring all those skills to that. Thanks.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Candidates, you're doing a great job staying on time. We appreciate that.
Well, how can we not?
We have-
Here it is.
So we have a question regarding governance, and we'd like you to address the issue of your leadership style, the ability to build collaborations with the other members on the council, and some of the issues that the council should be spending its time on. What do you think are the most critical issues for the council to spend its time on, and how do you build those bridges of collaboration and discussion? And the candidate to start will be Michelle.
Okay, that was a lot. So,
Excuse me, I made an error. The
That's
candidate
okay.
will be Andy.
Okay, no problem. Well, there's a lot there.
So again, topic is governance.
Again, I did write, there's many details on the website, and I call it the, possibly the most uninteresting part of the website because it's so procedural. But there are things, for example, we voted in 2022 with Measure M to get off of the California Voting Rights Act whenever the council deemed feasible. I would like to start that process right away and go back to what we had before, which was a mayor elected among the council. So we actually have a team where we don't have a mayor that has kind of a city mandate, which is how I believe they have acted. That's one. Secondly, I would like there to be a priority workshop, which they do have, but I would like that to be, the top 5 or 6 things are on every single agenda. And if somebody wants to bring something up, I want to say which one of these should go away or go down. And then we have our running list at the end of every agenda. So what I see happening a lot is people who have an interesting project they want to include, and then other things that they were working on get pushed back. I think that is not good. And then again, there's so many things, but like I'd like to see the legal, the budget shown. I would like to see the Brown Act, the closed sessions recording as was requested. And then I think finally, the main thing that I'm thinking is that right now, what mostly happens in my view is that you have what I would call serial monologues instead of real deliberation. So again, there's 10 more things to talk about. Maybe there'll be another chance to say those other 10.
Thank you. Michelle.
hi, okay, I'm gonna try and break this down. Okay, rotating mayor. I've been going door to door, and I don't find that to be the most pressing issue that's on people's minds, but just to speak to that, the Ojai voters voted to elect their mayor, and I think it's, particularly this year, for example, there's someone that's going to be, someone that's uncontested, that's going to be on city council, and to not have to pass the litmus test of going through a campaign and getting voted to then be put in as mayor, is that what the city of Ojai wants? Great, I would love to know, but it's yes, so I'll leave it at that. But on that topic of wanting to know what voters think, I really would like to implement ways that we can cast a wider net and receive input from people. I've looked into this possibility, and it's definitely possible and financially feasible to have a citywide text messaging system where we would text everybody who's a resident of Ojai. You can choose to opt in, and then if you do opt in, you would be able to weigh in on an issue that's happening. You'd be able to rank the agenda a certain way. And then, that's all I have to say. Yeah, there's a lot more.
Yes, this is an important topic. We have some additional questions, so we'll keep on this topic.
Okay.
Questions are coming forward about your opinions and positions on how Ojai, is it important for Ojai to solve its local problems first, such as fire, water, traffic, and parking? Should it be involved with international issues? And what are some of the opinions you have about such items as stopping the breeding of companion dogs? So these are much broader issues in how you would govern and work with your council members. And this broad topic, again, starting with Michelle. Thank you.
Okay, no, we should not be deciding on international issues. That's what Salud Carbal and Steve Bennett are being paid big bucks to do, so we should talk to them about those things. We should, our jurisdiction is the 4 square miles of the city of Ojai, and when I'm going door to door, I'm hearing people's, people are talking about safety, they're talking about schools, they're talking about traffic, about tourism, how we can be more sustainable, how we can have more recreational opportunities for our children. These are all topics that I'm hearing when I go door to door.
I totally agree with that, and I would say, in fact, when I was asked by some of you in the room here before the ceasefire resolution was voted on, what was my opinion, because I was already announcing my candidacy, and I said that a municipality expressly beyond its purview and without any binding authority should not weigh in on any matters of national and international import. And I know that there are council people who agree with that. And no need, let's keep going. But to me, that would solve a lot of problems. And I know our city manager has publicly said that he would support an ordinance to that effect. So on the other issues though that you mentioned, like I know to say, oh, I don't, if you say anything about pets, of course, half the city's gonna not like what you're gonna say, but it's that we're missing the point, in my opinion, by reordering things in a way that is not the most useful. I'm saying what I think Michelle said just now, which is that our first priorities would be things like fire safety, road safety, making sure that our budget is balanced, making sure services are there, making sure that our environment is sustained, and that we have this place that we are here for a reason and we want to maintain it. So the things that, if they don't affect our city directly, I would like to move them way down on the agenda. And again, keep that running list on every piece. So if somebody wants to bring up something, I want to ask what moves down.
Very good, thank you. And now we move on to a topic that is very local, pickleball. We have questions that on this very local issue. How do you feel about Measure O and pickleball? What's your position? So that'll give you a minute and a half to have that discussion. Andy, we start with you.
Yeah, every one of these has two sides at least. It was really hard to watch the pickleball conversation. I know many of you attended the council meetings, and we were watching that over the course of the year, and I kept thinking there's got to be a better way to manage these conversations. And I have spoke at length with both sides, or the many sides of this issue, and I have publicly said already that I think Measure O should not be approved. However, I also said publicly that I know that for example, the Soul Park, the bike trail going past the golf course, going to Soul Park, I know there's some plans already developed, like by Luis and the prior council. I would love to see that revived, especially in our current budget situation. We have the money to do it, let's do it. That solves one problem, which is people can walk and ride now. And again, secondly, I know some of you might not like what I'm gonna say, but I'm wanting to have that conversation to continue to say, the pickleball community, what would you like to see? And also the tennis community, what do you need out of, let's say, the courts that exist? I still think more conversations can be had. That's my answer.
Thank you. Michelle, your discussion on pickleball and Measure O.
Okay. I think this is a great example of compromise, and the city council carefully considered the needs of everybody that was involved, and they came up with a solution. The courts next to City Hall were never meant to be permanent, and the solution that they came up with are beautiful state-of-the-art courts in Soul Park to the tune of $800,000. The tennis people had to raise their own money, and the pickleball people got theirs funded by the city. That's so amazing. And it was a compromise, and a good compromise. And I believe in honoring that hard work and compromise that was made in good faith by the council. I think it's not very neighborly, not very Ojai, and in the spirit of good governance and just being a good citizen in general, to just honor this compromise that was made. I also would like to safely expand the bike path that's going to Soul Park, but otherwise, no, that it was a compromise made in good faith, and we should be good neighbors and good citizens and honor that compromise.
Thank you. The next question topic we're going to move to is business, local businesses, downtown businesses. What are your thoughts on the current business community for Ojai? What would you propose to improve things? How do you feel about ma and pa type stores in the downtown? And what sort of thoughts, again, this is a broad question, giving you a moment to think about it. Michelle, we'll start with you on the topic of downtown business.
I love our downtown businesses, and I support many of them. I think that specifically when it comes to planning, there needs to be a more thoughtful approach for what kinds of businesses get approved in the downtown area. There's so many resources. Most business owners, that is their main asset, and they have poured everything into their businesses. So carefully planning what goes in where should definitely be considered both by Planning Commission and by City Council. And yeah. Thank you.
I agree with all that. For those of you who have been here for a while, VST was on Bryan Circle. That was the first building that was built there in '95, if you recall that. And then if you remember on Bryant Street, there was ITI, and then we had lynda.com as examples. And the city, and James Vega said this explicitly, our former city manager, the city makes it difficult for organizations to do things and start things, and that's by design. And I love the way that we don't have chain stores here. I fully support that. I don't want any of that to change. What I do want to change is that, again, thinking of the Economic Development Collaborative and Bruce Stensley there, the county works with cities that have a staff person that is working by the will of the council and the staff to attract businesses that they want to be here. And I would like to pursue that, where we could look at a business that we think it's clean, it's something we would like. And again, when you say the downtown businesses, that's mostly tourism, and that's where the job growth has mostly happened. But what I would love to do is say, let's attract businesses that actually afford more of a wage where people can live here. That's probably not downtown exactly, but it's more like saying that's the work that we're gonna have to do. And so I know the business community feels that way 100%, and we're gonna have to be very careful with our resources. And that's, as Michelle said, that's where the Planning Commission and the council to move, work methodically and very carefully to build things that we want, so that more of us can not have to commute out for our work. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Next topic that we will cover is back to housing. This time to have a discussion about what you consider the definition of affordable housing. How do you deal with housing insecurity that some residents are feeling? And do you agree with the rent stabilization and tenant protections that the City Council passed? Big breath. Andy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, we know affordable has a technical meaning, right? It's the median income of the county, and the rent wouldn't be more than 30% of that. That's what technically affordable means, but most of us don't think that's what affordable is. I'm in that group. So what I think that this council has done, in some cases, I applaud them 100%. They approved the Cabrillo project that's on Bryant. I think that was a great call. That's the same organization that built the units that are on Montgomery, if you drive past Franklin there and see those, and they were also part of what's on Olive Mill, and I think they're a good organization, and I'm glad it's there. Becker is more complicated, and we don't have time to get into the details, but that's mixed, that's market rate and affordable. And there was a deal that was postponed, and we can debate whether or not the new deal is better or worse, but that's for another time. What I would say though is that, again, if we don't do something seriously, there's no reason why these trends that I mentioned earlier won't continue. And I don't want us to become simply a retirement community. I want there to be young families that continue to go to school here. Now, projects are slow by design, and I'm glad for that. So we have projects that have not begun yet. They've been approved, so let's see what the impact is. We see OUSD working on their project. And there's actually 4 other projects that are in the very earliest phases that we'll see come to light, where we say, does this make sense? Is this a good idea? So my answer is, we're gonna have to make it easier for young families to stay here. And I believe housing's the way to do that.
Thank you.
Yep.
Michelle, your turn.
I first want to acknowledge that our city has met our regional housing needs allocation number, which was 53, and we now have 153 units that are in the pipeline It's 153 units over 5 different developments around the city. I do not like the term affordable. I am trying to just completely nix it out of my vocabulary because it is not affordable in reality. Affordable, according to state law, allows for rent as high as $3,100 a month for a medium income family of 4. For low income housing, it's $2,813 for a family of 4. So I don't use that word. My opponent has asserted that market rate mixture projects will ensure viability, but I think this is just flawed. Developments often prioritize market rate over truly affordable housing, and the reality is that developers are, their priority is to make money, as that should be their priority. But as an elected official, it is our duty to protect the people of Ojai and to advocate for housing that is accessible in reality. Often the mixed rate things fall short on their promise, and then creating this veneer of inclusivity, and they fall short on the affordability. So I will not support any development that is high-end housing and only consider things that are truly accessible.
Thank you. Next question has to do with we'd like to hear your philosophy and discussion of appointments to the city's boards and commissions, how you might make consideration of appointing people, and your thoughts about how those commissions and community councils and committees operate. So again, giving you a moment there to think about that. Michelle, you'll start off with this question for us this evening.
Thank you. It's a great question, and honestly, I'm going to have to think a little bit more about that. I don't want to provide a non-answer, but I will think about that and post a reply on my website.
Andy.
Yeah, this actually just came up at last night's council meeting. My opinion is that the council's been working on this for more than a year, how the council appointments are going to work, and frankly, I've never seen it more contentious than it has been this past year. And somebody attended the council meeting last night saying, "Is this how it is?" And I said, "Yep, that's how it is." So what we agreed to, or what was agreed to after a lot of public comment, to try to get compromise, when compromise couldn't be had, was that the mayor, the council liaison, and the chair would have to unanimously agree, which I suggested, and not because of me, but I also suggested, and I'm glad they do that, because what I see happen is people are wanting to locate people into commission spots so that things like projects don't have to get forwarded up to the council for them to say yes or no to, or to go against the commission if the commission approves it, which happens occasionally. So my opinion is, and I've said this already, but I would like to see a range on the commissions where if you say, you want somebody that doesn't want anything built ever again, sure. And you want somebody that wants to build more, and you have a whole range in the middle, and they get to debate through the ordinance and offer some collaborative, compromise view that the council can look at. I think that seems to me the way to go. That's the spirit of our democracy working and what dialogue means. And so that's what I'm afraid we have been missing here. I'm glad we're forced to have a unanimous before it gets to the council, so that compromise happens at some level. Thank you. Yep.
We'll move to a question now about tourism in Ojai. How do you feel that you're able to balance tourism with everyday resident priorities? And a little bit about how short-term rentals might be fitting into some of that. And we'll start that question with Andy.
Right. So, if you remember in 2016, we had the OTID, the Ojai Tourism Improvement District, and there was money that went right from the TOT to this that the Inn managed and the Chamber of Commerce was working, and I think we all agreed they did their job maybe better than we wanted. So anyway, obviously all the hoteliers pulled out of that in 2017, and we didn't want to do that anymore. So one idea that I've tried to promote is this notion of what I'm calling the Ojai cultural contribution, and that is 1/15 of the TOT, which presently would be about $433,000, would go directly to Ojai's nonprofits that they would apply to that. And again, I'm trying to invoke the spirit of James Vega when he said that Ojai's nonprofits fill in the gap for a small city. So an easy example of that is Help of Ojai with their transportation, but there's many examples of that. I would love to see that direct relationship. We all know the relationship, which is I believe in the budget this year, the TOT is $6 million. That would be dramatic to not have. We all get that. And we all know what it was like when we were here during the Thomas Fire and COVID, et cetera. So I'm not saying end tourism, but what I am saying is find ways through the measures we're talking about to connect the tourism difficulties that we have to put up with. That would be, for example, traffic, but it would be housing prices with benefits that we would get. So that's the effort that I would like to lead into. There's so much more to say. That's it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We're coming just about to the close of our discussion.
Does she get a chance?
Go right ahead, Michelle.
I would like to creatively address tourism by utilizing our existing services and experiences, like art walks and bike tours that fit seamlessly into our environment without adding to traffic congestion. For example, the Pink Moment is such a historical treasure, and there's multiple areas around town that we can get this incredible view. I would love to take a citywide poll on maybe a few locations and put up viewing benches for people to enjoy it as it develops. I think this would be a really great opportunity to also commission local artists so that each bench could maybe have a theme. We could make it part of our art walks, which would increase accessibility, and they could serve as extra stopping points. I really am all about just combining and maximizing the assets that we already have. We can package experiences like the walking art tours and mix it with gallery viewings, and we can support our local businesses by maybe coordinating it on a day that the Pinhole Coffee Van has popped up, and just having that kind of relationship between ways that won't add to our traffic congestion, but also really play to the strengths that we have in our community.
Thank you. We will go to our final question. We have lots of questions. Thank you so much for all the many fine questions. I'll review those topics with you in a moment, but the final question we'd like to ask this evening is your vision. What do you see as the vision for Ojai over the next 5 or 10 years, and how can you contribute to making that vision come true? And we will start that with Michelle.
Oh, my vision, okay. We have drawn down our emissions to 0. Our streets are safe. They're well lit. From the crosswalks are well marked and well lit. We have well marked bike lanes. Our tree canopy is expanded. We have bioswales going through our sidewalks, and we're capturing our rainwater. Our businesses are thriving. We've made smart land use decisions, and it's not adding to our congested streets or traffic. Oh, what else is my vision? My vision is just an Ojai that is viable for the next 40 years, that we are prepared for fires and droughts and all sorts of disasters, because we have equipped our citizens with good information. And up to that end, I wanted to share that I also would like, for fire preparedness, I would really like to install 2 warning sirens in our town so that we know when something is happening. And I also looked into the budget, providing hand-cranked radios for every household. So when you hear those sirens, you get tuned into the radio, and it's not dependent on power or electricity. So just, lots of little practical things so that we can all feel safe. We have a microgrid, a community microgrid. Oh, there's so much more. I could go on and on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, I like all those things. I love the hand crank radio idea. That's awesome. I think what I would add to that, I like all of those things. It would be that we would see some measurable things like OUSD enrollment would be ticking up. That would be the trend that we're seeing. I think that's going to be a key indicator. And I'd like to see the median age at least leveling out, not continuing to go up. I think that's another key indicator. And then I'd like to see, again, I know on the weekends we probably think, oh, the traffic's really, really terrible. And I know some of you have expressed to me, I don't go downtown on the weekends. Some of you say you do. I get all that. The most traffic happens with commuter traffic. That's the Caltrans data. And so what I'd also like to see then is you see, oh, the traffic's reduced. And the traffic is reduced because people who are living here are working here. For example, that we see those measurable things there that we can point to them and realize that. And this is another very specific thing, but I used to sit at Azu all the time, and I would look across the street at OUSD, and it's true, it's the school, it's not the city, but we can be partners in this thing. And I always thought there should be a permaculture garden across the street, not that shaggy lawn, and then what you see is all the beauty or the most important things that Ojai is interested in, they happen on that campus there somehow. So it seems to me there's wonderful ways that we can then say, let's put our money and our work effort into our priorities and make those things happen in ways that are measurable, and I think they absolutely are.
Very good.
Yeah.
Before we go to our closing statements from each of you, I would like the audience to express their appreciation for having you this evening.
That's nice of you.
And I would also like to express appreciation to the league volunteers who are assisting tonight: Elizabeth, Marquita, Jane, Pat, Roger, Pat, and our other Pat, Judy, Wayne, Kathy, and Kate. It takes a team, so thank you. So now we have time for your closing statements. I will indicate that we had questions, just a wonderful variety of questions. Everything from what kinds of ordinances are you interested in, details on the TOT, something about the electric trolleys, what are your special interests and who's influencing you, a lot of questions. We're going to conclude, one that did come up several times and is appropriate for your closing comments. Let us know who some of your endorsements are as part of your closing comments. And first to start on closing comments will be Andy.
Aren't I ending?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think Michelle's starting and I'm ending. Is that right?
Michelle started.
Oh, Michelle started first and I ended, so I'm starting. Sorry, I forgot that part. Okay, well, let's see. I guess my first challenge is going to be actually to all of you in this room as well, which is that, in my opinion, we have had very contentious election cycles. And what I hope we can do is, the candidates usually didn't very directly get involved in being contentious, but their supporters did. And what I would like to encourage is that, I believe Michelle does think this, is that we encourage our supporters to, let's focus on the issues and then present them clearly and let the city decide how they want to go. And it seems to me we can buck this national trend of saying people who don't agree with you are traitors. Let's not do that. We cannot do that. But that's up to us in this room, and it's up to us on Facebook or next door not doing that. Now, you can do whatever you want, but it seems to me that that's a way forward. On endorsement, what I tried to do in trying to bring this group together is to say, I'm going to fund myself. I don't want anybody else funding me. I don't have a lot of money, but also I'm not seeking any official endorsements. So if somebody wants to help me, fine, but I want to say, I'm trying to bring sides together to do something. And so that's my full intention, 100%. And I hope that it turns out to be a great campaign for our city, that we can have some faith in it and not these kind of war zone potholes when December starts and with a lot of animosity. So that's my hope.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And Michelle, your closing comments.
Thank you. And I just really quickly want to give a shout out to whoever brought their kiddo. I saw someone bring them in. That is so awesome. Your parents are awesome. I'm here this evening and I'm so humbled by this opportunity to serve this community. I have a commitment to creating a city government that practices mutual respect and active listening, because I believe that how we treat each other in the process is just as important as the outcomes we achieve. I'm here with a willingness to serve and ensure that the decisions we make truly benefit us, the people who live and work in Ojai, and looking at all decisions through the lens of not just what works today, but what will benefit the next generation. I bring a pragmatic approach to leadership rooted in relevant professional experience and have a genuine eagerness to give back. And if I'm lucky enough to be your mayor, the top issues that I will tackle are housing equity, traffic, climate, wildfire preparedness, and civility in public meetings. As far as my endorsements, I have been endorsed by the Sierra Club, the Ventura County Young Democrats, Planned Parenthood, Regenerate Ojai, Big Picture Ranch, and various esteemed members of our community, both new and old. I worked really hard for these endorsements and they did not cost me any money, so I just want to make that really clear. It was just an interview process where I explained my platform, the reasons that I'm running, and my plans for the city. But thank you so much to everyone for coming out tonight. Thank you for your time, and I ask you for your vote.
Let's give our candidates one more. And also a special thank you to the City of Ojai for assisting with tonight's presentation. This will be on the YouTube and Channel 10 for us to look at in the future. And with that, thank you audience and thank you candidates.
Thank
Good
you.
night.